We Happy Few. A story where we dive into a world of drugs, poverty and delusions. A world where hope is in rare supply at the end of a terrifying war against Germany and suffering the loss greater than people realise. Before we start, I'd like to thank Compulsion Games for getting in touch about a composer I asked about in the last video, and of course for watching. It is great to receive feedback from the creators about the work Phil and I do. In the previous episode, we left at the point where Arthur reunited with his childhood friend Sally, which did not end well as it brought up a troubled incident from their past, and our protagonist Arthur had tried to confront her about it. Knowing he is royally screwed up, Arthur tries to leave the alley only to be jumped by a group of men wearing leather jackets who are looking for Sally. After this altercation, Arthur tries to leave quietly but is stopped by a constable who inquires to where he is going in such a hurry. Struggling to keep his composure, Arthur reassures the constable there is nothing to see. He is just on his way to see a friend at St. George. The constable informs him there is no rush as the bridge he needs to take is closed, once again due to poor maintenance, and they are waiting for Dr Faraday to fix the complicated contraptions. During the conversation, the constable mentions Dr Faraday has moved to a secret location. Arthur mentions he will go to Central to inquire Faraday's whereabouts. The constable becomes angry and demands Arthur stays out of their business. Regardless of the threat, Arthur goes to the main police station to get a location of Dr Faraday. Once again we are denied this information, yet Arthur somehow finds the confidence to persuade the receptionist using big long words and a stern voice to get what he wants. Quote, "We are conducting an investigation into Dr Faraday's handling of municipal records related to the maintenance of interstellar bridges." He finishes with mentioning the name of his boss, Miss Bing, who had sent 2 requests for the information and threats to report them both if they refuse him again. Both constables at the desk are taken back before pulling themselves together and showing the way to get to the records room. Those acts of confidence has gotten Arthur to where he needs to be. Like the bridge, his courage has wavered and now has to sneak around to the records room and look through the files without anyone seeing him. Whiskey, however, does go a long way. The bobbies are willing to turn a blind eye for a bottle if you have one at hand. Retrieving the information will tell you where Dr Faraday is, although you will need credentials to gain access to the home. Arthur remembers the constables mentioning Bobby Hickabotham was meant to visit the good doctor, yet due to a guilty conscience, meaning how Dr Faraday has been treated, he went to the Reform Club to get his arse spanked, as the constable put it. Bobby Hickabotham has the credentials the protagonist needs to see Dr Faraday. Our next step is clear: to gain access to the Reform Club and find the constable to steal his papers. However, we will need a few things first. First, we will need to get an invitation. There are 2 ways of doing this. The first is if you go to the Reform Club and look at the bench outside, there is an invitation there. No one is looking, so you can easily take it. Second, you can go to a local shop nearby. They'll happily sell you one. Either way works. The next step is the dress code, a rubber catsuit. Kinky. This is much needed, as if not worn it will attract unwanted attention. Personally, I skipped the invitation and broke in through the window, where I found a catsuit in a locker and put it on. We have to wait till after curfew as the club is open from 9 PM to 7 AM. Before we make our way into the Reform Club for our mission, we notice there is a memory beside the receptionist. It is easily obtained via lock-picking the door or using the vents to gain access to the bathroom. From there you can reach a bedroom and an exit onto the other side of the class where she sits. The memory is from Arthur's past about an incident at school where Percy received a caning for kicking a bin at a fellow student. From what we hear, it was an accident. Percy kicked the bin not knowing that Leslie Croden, why mentioning their name, does it come again, was about to turn the corner straight into the bin's path. What is next tells us a lot about Arthur as a child. After Percy explains it was a simple accident as he never intended the bin to hit someone, Arthur sarcastically replies, "Oh well, that's not all your fault then." Percy for a moment believes his brother is trying to comfort him, taking a long moment to realise it was sarcasm, and after Arthur confirms it, Percy replies angrily, "I hate it when you're sarcastic." As mentioned, Arthur is for his is there for his brother, but at times it starts to feel more reluctant to do so as we collect more memories. Despite Percy's learning difficulties, he feels Arthur is becoming more frustrated with having to explain things for him, while ignoring the loving gestures Percy has done for him, such as taking the blame for spying on Sally or making him tea when he was sick. It feels with each memory we gain, the shape of our protagonist changes, including how the player views him based on their own experiences. Back to the mission. As we go up the stairs, we realise this is somewhat not quite civil. The leather catsuit you have to wear does give a clue as to what kind of place you are entering, however it does not prepare you nor Arthur for what we will see. The Reform Club is a den of ill repute, a place where individuals can live out their darkest sexual desires away from prying eyes of the civil people of the town. A place where practically nothing seems to be off the table when it comes to anyone, including the Mistress Wanda. Reminds me of someone I know whose name rhymes with Spill. We'll call Spill. Before you ask, yes, we will do the video on the Reform Club once we finish the characters, perverts. We find Constable Hickabotham unconscious on a sofa. Stealing from him is simple as long as no one sees us do it. With the credentials in hand, we can now move forward and see Dr Faraday. The location of Dr Faraday is strange, as they have relocated outside of the village to live amongst the wastrels. Arthur wonders just how dangerous the doctor is. Approaching the house, you hear a man shouting for Roger and inquiring what he had done to the valve. The man, who we learn is James, has a problem with the valve which waters the plants. James offers to let us use Dr Faraday's lab if we help him with the problem. Roger is in no shape to help as he is dancing around the house. Clearly he has taken something. It is hard to explore the house as inside is filled with downy detectors, but from what we gather, James and Roger are a couple. The bedroom is by the kitchen if you would like to look. Upstairs leads to Dr Faraday's lab where we find she is a woman. Arthur seems surprised by this. Dr Faraday, like all characters in the game, are in need, and in exchange for gathering materials she needs, she will fix the bridge to St George, as the constabulary have locked her in her lab. Gathering the materials is easy. We need motoline, a strange purple liquid, seems to be some sort of fuel, and parts from a car. The doctor fortunately provides Arthur with the equipment to suck up the motoline and extract the car parts. When Arthur extracts parts from the first car, it invokes a memory. While London Bridge is playing in the background, Arthur is taken back to the day when the children were being forced onto the train. The screams of Percy can be heard. He is desperate to know where his brother is. For some reason, the noise of the contraption is forcing memories to the surface. As Arthur gets to the second car, it happens again. This time, another voice pierces through the blaring scene. It is the constable who told Arthur he was too old to go to Germany. This time there is further dialogue. I am not going to put one more child on that train. The scene ends with the constable shouting at Arthur to move along. Could it be the constable knew Arthur was lying about his age? That he knew the reasons the children were being sent to Germany? If not, maybe he just had a feeling something was wrong and did not want to give another child to the enemy. Whatever the reason, Arthur was spared. Arthur is clearly shaken by this memory. Nevertheless, he shakes it off with a comment about how he hates the contraption he is using and moves on to the next car. Unfortunately, as before, the extraction of the parts evokes another memory of Percy being dragged onto the train. We hear Percy scared about what will happen to them, asking Arthur if the Germans will hurt them. Arthur reassures him by saying, "We're brothers, we'll look out for each other." Arthur remarks that he wasn't terribly keen to grasp how many unpleasant things he had forgotten. We as the viewer are barely scratching the surface of what happened that day, yet we seem to be getting a clearer image of what actually did happen. Arthur is fighting himself. One part wants to know the truth, while the other part does not. What is Arthur hiding? Why is he afraid to face the truth? Alas, we will have to wait. For now we need to get back to Dr Faraday with the mechanical parts and hopefully get the bridge fixed. When we return Dr Faraday, she is working on her wormhole to leave her cage. She asks Arthur to return the next day and she plans to go through her wormhole to get the part she needs to fix the bridge. On our way out, we are startled by a loud explosion and a beam coming from the roof shooting towards the sky. As we enter, James and Roger are running around like headless chickens. Upon entering her lab, Arthur finds Dr Faraday has left. The lab is a mess. We are left with looking through the carnage left by the explosion. Taped to her wormhole contraption is a note for Arthur. "Thanks for all your help. You'll go far one day," which is more than I can say for the other numpties. I don't know what they do to break the bridge, but 9 times out of 10, if I turn it off and turn it back on again, that does the trick. So do that. You'll need a code to operate the switch. It's 1492. Bon voyage. Judging by Arthur's reaction, this was not the help he was expecting when he had asked her to fix the bridge. Alas, this is all we get and we'll have to make do. Although the instructions Dr Faraday left us seem inadequate to fix the bridge, it actually works, and Arthur can now enter St George. However, he will have to find a way past the dandy detector, or pop a joy and go through. Popping a joy and entering the usual way will lead us to a lovely game of Simon Says with Uncle Jack, where we have to run quickly from light to light. This is not as easy as it sounds. There are conductors which will shoot electricity at you for being too slow. The constabulary strikes me as a group who is paranoid, as they have made every effort to ensure downers do not escape from the authorities by simply crossing bridges into other parts of the city. They've ensured this as they have downer detectors at the entrance with joy dispensers next to them, as well as inside the building itself. They have also made it virtually impossible for wastrels to come back through the bridges. As we remember the quiz, Arthur passed the quiz, yet could not leave through the door he was meant to. It clearly shows the lengths that the constabulary will take to keep the citizens compliant with how they want the system to work. What are they trying to hide from us? Now Arthur is in St George. His first step is to Sally's home. At the front we can see how well Sally has been doing, as there is a big neon sign, Sally's Interplanetary Travel Agency. Though when looking at the door, it does confirm a break-in, as there is a massive dent and the door seems to be jammed. Arthur will have to go through the back, avoiding the policeman guarding the entrance to the alley. Bribing him with a scotch will do, and you'll also have to avoid the Joy Doctor who's lurking in the alley itself. The door to Sally's apartment is ajar. Arthur walks in and calls her name. Sally comes down the stairs, surprised to see he actually came. She greets us with, "Come to have another go at me?" Arthur takes his mask off, explaining how he used to picture what he would have said if he ever saw her again, and being an arse was improv. Taking off his mask before saying this could be taken as a gesture for him to show Sally he is showing his true self. He is being open and honest instead of hiding behind a mask. Unfortunately, Sally cuts him off saying, "This isn't a good time." Arthur then cuts to the chase. He mentions how Sally knows General Byng. Sally confirms this, saying he is a client, a pharmaceutical client. For some reason, she then goes on about how she hasn't had sex in 10 years, and if she did, it wouldn't be with him. Sally looks to Arthur with a sparkle in her eye, asking if he really came for the letter of transit or just needed an excuse. This flusters Arthur. He mumbles his answers, saying he does need the letter. Sally looks disappointed. Nonetheless, she is willing to help us and hands us a drug called Sunshine. She explains it shows all the signs of joy, such as small pupils, without the actual effects of joy. Arthur again mentions the letter. Sally then asks a favour. She wants a bottle of cod liver oil. This request seems to break the loving moment between them, as Arthur asks why on earth she would want cod liver oil, like the one her mum used to torment her with. As we know, taking joy long-term not only obscures the taker's short-term memory, but suppressing their long-term memory. In short, forgetting the past. Sally mentions how she cannot remember her mum and the cod liver oil would help her remember. Arthur asks, "Why on earth would you want to remember your mother?" Giving the idea Sally's mum was not a nice person. Interpreting his reaction as reluctance to help, Sally continues, "If it's not too much to ask." Arthur interrupts, Well, I was kind of hoping, absolutely, I will ask my friend the General for a rotten scrap of paper, just for old time's sake. I'm being an arse again, aren't I? Having realised he is being an arse, Arthur agrees to try and get it, and Sally agrees to get the letter. With this, Sally kisses Arthur. Arthur is quite taken back by this and gently moves her away to leave, ignoring her suggestion to stay. As Arthur shuts the door, Sally opens it to tell him where he can find Codler Royal at Dr Verloc's lab. She cannot go herself as she is no longer welcome there. We are getting a close look at their relationship of Arthur and Sally. It seemed there was an opportunity for romantic relationships when they were younger, only something happened that prevented this and created a chasm of resentment Arthur now feels towards her. Although in this scene, Arthur wants to move past it, while at the same time he is holding himself back from her. In the notes, "Why did Sally kiss me?" Arthur doubts Sally is actually wanting him, because that is a consummation devoutly to be wished, and when you really want something that much, you tend to miss the signs that you have lost all touch with reality. But for one shining moment, I was the hero at the end of the movie, and I got the girl, and then I pulled away. Why did you pull away, Arthur? He doubts himself on why he actually went to see her. Was it for the letter, or to see Sally? Also in the note, he mentions Sally's mother and how she tried to poison her, alongside with the rest of her entire family. This brings us to two names from the list of children, Elizabeth and Anne Boyle, Sally's sisters. We know now the reason why they were not on the train. Their mother had murdered them, though we do not know why. But this is the information we are given to speculate with, like everything else in this game. Information is given to us slowly, and we need to put the pieces together. Sadly, we have come to the end of our time now. Join us next week where we will look further into the life of Arthur Hastings and what lies beneath.